Hello and welcome to my Let's Play of Fire Emblem Black Fang. Today I will be playing Chapter 20, Captis, Essentia. The Black Fang head east to Bern. Though the path takes them dangerously close to the Lycian League, they cross the continent hoping for a relatively uneventful trip. East of Arafin, Woolen River divides the mountains from Decay's border. A perfect place for an ambush. Heading further east would cost days, time the Fang won't have. The intersection of Lycia, Decay, and Bern is a powder keg, and the Black Fang are walking right into it. Chapter 20, Captis, Essentia. The Woolen Tri-Corner is just ahead. We'll be able to enter Bern from there, perhaps even secure an escort. Don't get your hopes up. Eh? Why not? Chadwick is ever the pessimist, but he's often right. Things could still go sideways for reasons we couldn't anticipate. One step too close to Lycia could trigger a response, and the Sacaeans will gleefully jump at any excuse to sack a village. A lot of unused land going to waste while people go hungry. Ilya and Bern should coordinate a two-pronged assault and split it. That's a bit excessive though, don't you think? The land is theirs, has been for centuries. There is a humanitarian argument that could be made. Decay has all of the dysfunctions of a class system without any of the benefits. They don't provide for their people and need to raid each other. Clans bicker all the time over scraps rather than building anything. Leadership turns over so often that leaders don't know their subjects. Send them off to die to thin out the herd, scoop up their wives. Women are handed off as wives and servants. I'm well educated on the subject. I just question if military intervention on humanitarian grounds is justified, particularly when it could mean the erasure of an entire culture. Well, I guess when you're in charge, you'll be able to decide. What price in blood is worth paying in service to abstract future justice? You may need to hurt good people to help more people in greater need. I'd rather people hear reason and agree to work towards common goals. I definitely agree with that. It's extraordinarily heavy-handed to just be like, oh, your society or culture or civilization is bad for XYZ reasons that I won't even explain to you, and I'm just going to invade you without prior discussion or trying to enact change in a they already made a humanitarian argument. Not in a humanitarian way, but without taking diplomatic measures beforehand. You just immediately decide you should take military action to make change that you think is necessary. It also, by doing so, that puts you in a position where you're acting like you have the ethical and moral high ground, which is never a good position to try to I can't seem to articulate this very well, but even if you felt strongly that you were in a moral high ground, I feel like that's not, I don't know how to say this, a good way to justify actions of this severity. But anyway, maybe I should just keep reading. Well, obviously, but it rarely goes that way. I wouldn't say rarely, but yeah, can't rely on it. Well, get me to their commander and I will get us passage. As long as things remain quiet, they won't attack us. You think it'll stay quiet? No, probably not. Yeah, I thought so. Chadwick! Legalt, how was your detour to Lycia? No good news, I'm afraid. I wasn't able to get an audience with Eliwood. Even had we met, I am not sure he'd be willing to hand over Durandal. Yeah, I can't imagine them handing over a national treasure so easily. That and we were former allies, but it's not like we were ever close. Getting the Black Fang into Lycia to obtain Durandal before William will be near impossible. But we may need to swing over there if all else fails. I'd rather not cross blades with them, if at all, if it at all can be avoided. As would I, Legalt. You know, Hector and Eliwood fought a fire dragon before you. I don't know how that compares to a divine dragon, but maybe we could... For the greater good, I would work alongside them, but, well... Let's focus on the ones within arm's reach first. Makes sense? Here is the augury for the chapter. Woolen Tricorner. This territory has traded ownership repeatedly. I've studied its historical military conflicts. Are you interested? The key thing in conflict is to mind the topography. The river is an effective natural barrier. Marching south of the bridge will put you into line of sight of the Lycian watchtowers. Heading east will do the same for the Sacaeans of Woolen. A small strike team following the river could slip by. Do you have any pirates, berserkers, or flying units? I suppose warps work as well, but I'm less familiar with it. I can see nothing else, but perhaps you want to hear it again, yes? I'll bring Jacoby. So there's a twist to this chapter as well. Just like the last one. But again, I think I will try to play it more as though I'm naive, just so that it's more in tune with how someone playing this for the first time might play it. So this is Iliad, Aerophin's leading knight, burnt out but dutiful. These guys on the west side of the river are sentries, technically independent contractors. Times are tough. So I believe all of these sentries are contractors for Aerophin / the Lycian League, and then we have these ruins up in the northeast, and in the southeast we have members of Bern. We have Vida here, and the Queen's Secret Service, fiercely loyal. I think this mug might not be the original mug from FP7, but I'm not sure. She has her Uber Spear, as you can see. Yeah, maybe I'll describe this more as a walkthrough instead than playing this naively. So what you can do, basically, you could follow Murdoch's advice, and if you had pirates or other units that could move, or well, berserkers I suppose, because we never got any pirates, your berserkers could move along the water, or flying units can move along the water, or as he said, with the warp staff you could move along, and the goal is to speak to Vida. So you could just ferry a unit, like a burn unit or whatever, with rescue or a warp to Vida, and then just end the chapter. Especially because all of these units are super tanky. Like for example, like 48 HP, 54 HP on just an archer. So that's one strategy. Another thing is if you defeat either Iliad or Elad, or if you defeat the Sacaeans once they spawn, or the leader of the Sacaeans once they spawn in, that turns the opposing enemy into green units. Like the one that you didn't defeat their leader, they all become green units, and then you only need to fight the one army. And then also, if any of the burn units see Zephiel, they all turn green. I believe including Vida, and then you can just speak to her. So this chapter can be as hard or as easy as you want it to. If you want to experience grind, you can try to kill one of the two armies, whether the Sacaean or the Lycian army of sentries. And then you can also kill as many burn people as you want. There's no consequences as far as I'm aware of. As long as they don't see Zephiel, they'll stay enemies and you can fight them. However, then you run the risk, of course, of Vida killing them. So yeah, the easiest way, like I said, just follow along the river, and then speak to Vida or warp Zephiel into the burn units as soon as possible. The more I think about it, in order to have shorter footage, since a lot of my videos have been gone quite long, probably the easiest thing for me to do... Where's Hannah? Hannah still has a warp on her, so for a shorter video I could always just warp Zephiel here right away. I do want to show the house though. You doing alright? I was until a stranger wandered into my home. Is this common behavior wherever you're from? Just curious if you had any advice. First advice, please leave my home. Second, don't stir up trouble out there. Things are quick to escalate. What you do here and in the next few days could set major things in motion. All because someone walked away with the wrong lessons learned. Anyone specific? You're still here? No, anyone. Everyone has the chance to leave it alone and walk away. Give them an exit when you can't afford to. Yours is right there. Alright, thanks. That seemed like it was supposed to just be a joke, but then he also said more serious things. Raw, looks like we got prey. Raw, looks like we got prey, boys. I'da done this raid for free, but I'll take Count Frumpy's cash too. Finish rounding up the spoils from that village and meet me afield. So I guess the idea is the Cicaeans destroyed this village, went in their raid, and now they're coming down for us because we went this far east. It would have been wiser if you can travel along the river and not, if you manage to avoid going a certain distance south or a certain distance east, then no new units will spawn from either of these two forces. But we did get to see that dialogue. And then I can also show off, this is a Kigaru, maybe? A Cicaean bandit hired to sow violence. So one interesting thing with these burn units is they don't actually, like, you can't speak to them, you actually need to attack them, and then once you've attacked them, then they turn to green units. It's a little strange, but yeah. Is it truly? The prince is really here? By God, stand down! Everyone stand down! I believe that's my call to make. Everyone stand down. Yeah, that does include Vida. So yeah, you could almost treat this as like a sneak mission, and you just sneak along the river and then have Zephiel attack someone, because that's the only way they recognize that he's there, and then just speak to Vida with Zephiel. So I could have even not spawned all these Cicaeans if I had been smart enough. So Jonas and Brunya can speak. Brunya, thank you for your contributions in the briefing earlier. You're better informed than me, and the concerns you highlighted helped. Well, that's a welcome change. They don't give you much credit over there in Bern? The right people do. The right people, huh? I wonder if you mean... Well, in any case, is there anything else you can tell me? Just what I said before. Marcus Arafin's racism against Decay is an exploitable weak point. If Burn were to attack Decay, Arafin would sit idly. Despite the fact that Arafin would be easy to take if we hit carved into Decay first. This could help us today as well. If we hit Decay hard, Arafin may seize fire on this. So this is more dialogue to explain the mechanics of this chapter. If we hit Lycia, Decayans may support us. This could have enduring consequences, though. I know. You don't care if Burn's relationship with Lycia or Decay sours? Of course I care. I'm simply prepared to support my prince with any course he charts. Are you not the same with your men? Well, Chadwick and I rarely operate on such a macro scale. We usually agree on most things because the options are pretty limited. But yeah, I suppose I'd follow along even if I thought the plan sucked. There you have it. She's pretty impressive. Slumming it a bit hanging out with us. Alright, so at this point we can basically just drop Venom by Beta and end the chapter. Okay. So there's going to be more Burn and Decay fighting. Oh, now he's attacking. So he can attack and move on the same turn. He just didn't fire turn for some reason. And Chadwick's crazy strong against these guys. You can almost one round someone with like 58 health. Oh, Ikaguru has boss theme music. That's cool. Anyway, bunch of people fighting. Okay. So Venom can also speak to Vida. What do we have here? You're a good-looking one, and my guess is you ride well. Are you one of ours? Ah, thanks, but nah, I ain't tonight. From Skyatos, pirate someday. Some say? Whatever. Skyatos, a southern isle of Burn's western coastline. I've heard it's beautiful. Yeah, it's been a while though. I get around a bit, you dig? Stay a while? I could make use of a man like you. You want me to stay? You're gonna need to knock me off my ride. Think you can do that? Oh, I'll get you off. Alright. Oh, can he not? That's odd. I suppose this won't work then. So we haven't seen Julian's animation yet, so let's show that now. I think I'll give her a stronger weapon. Well, it is... Okay, of Mercy is stronger. Okay. So that's her regular animation. We'll have to try to show the Wind Sword animation as well, and a crit with her. And I don't know if we've seen Brenya's animation, or at least not very often. So in case I haven't mentioned it before, Thunder is effective against armored units. And Fire is effective against cavalry units. So it makes the Anima Mages higher utility for fighting, because they can use both of those tomes for effectiveness. This is Start's sprite. Oh, I didn't show the description. These are mercs, or mercenaries, and they have no description. Very ow. I guess we're restarting then. So Chadwick and Zephiel can speak. Your Majesty, I've been meaning to chat with you for a moment. Yes, I suppose it is impossible to mask my frustration. Don't begrudge Jonas. He's explained his process to me and I understand where his error was. It's good of you to take responsibility for your man, but it'd be better not to be wrong, like I'd advocated. Well, seeing some merc of you, Zeph. Don't distract me from the issue. You're right though, and you do genuinely have a mind for tactics. Not trying to butter you up. You won't find me shrugging you off like that again, you have my word. I'll hold you to that. Back to business. How likely is it that you could just walk right in? You think your soldiers would hold off? Yes, probably for me, but doubtful for anyone else. Get me close enough and they'll all stand down. Got it. I do wonder how I would fare against my own Wyvern Knights. Erythemus should be useful there, or useful here. Erymanthus, maybe? That might be the same lance that I got in the Gaiden chapter with Arnold, I'm not sure. So I think what I'll do... Oops. I'll make mistakes apparently is what I'll do. So I'd like to ferry Paul instead because, well, I'll ferry Zephiel and Paul down to the south, and then I'll have Paul talk to Vida because I think that I can end the chapter that way. The problem is how to get around this unit, but they only have a sword. You have swords. I suppose Venom could die from the ballista. Yep. So this time I can speak to Vida with Zephiel. I do wonder if the issue was that maybe I was trying to speak to Vida on the same chapter that the units turned green, and maybe it needs to be... Did I say chapter? I'm not sure. I might have been trying to speak to Vida on the same turn that the burn units turned green, and it might need to be the turn after. General Vida. Or Veda. Mother has you patrolling the border. Your Majesty! I wasn't sure if it would truly be you. Not to worry, I haven't sustained any serious injury. This mercenary force is mine. We are excising corruption within Bern. Admirable, young master. Taking the fight yourself. I look forward to being in your direct service. What news while I was away? Your father demanded to see you once you've returned. Your mother, the queen, demanded my team make contact before he can. Come, let's talk. So I think I'll maybe come back to the closing cutscene. So that's one way to end the chapter. Another way is with Paul, so I can show that in a second. Well, first this guy's gonna go fight some people because they're within his range, and that's what the AI is gonna choose to do. We can also talk to Vida with Paul. Commander, it's me, Paul. So it is. You haven't reported in weeks. Now you stand against me? It's not like that. I am in service to the prince. We're en route to the Shrine of Seals. You claim the prince is here? Let me see him. Can you stand down first? You expect me to take the word of an MIA agent? Fine. Commander? Come, let's talk. And that brings us to here as well. So there's a couple more conversations we can have to end the chapter, so I will go back and try to get those. I just quickly want to show when you move south and spawn all these additional Elysians, at least this one is a layman, which has the same description as the sentry in this chapter, but it's just interesting to note that. Ugh, Vern has done this before. They send militants over to instigate violence on our soil. If we let it go unchecked, they deny responsibility and say it was Decay. If we retaliate, they argue that we attacked simple travelers. Use that as a justification for sending peacekeeping troops into our lands. So should we let it pass then? No, we can't make unilateral decisions like that. We protect the border, plain and simple. Do our jobs and leave the politicians to do theirs. Understood. Soldiers, active positions. So this is feeding more into the discussion about the possible corruptness of the nobles and politicians, and how these soldiers, I suppose, as members of the working class, still need to be able to make decisions on how to respond to certain actions. Yeah, so if you are at this distance, that's not enough to trigger the enemies, but if you go just one tile south, that will trigger all these reinforcements. And I believe it also spawned these laymen. Here's another example of the crit that these units have. So Jonas has an axe against this knight, and even with weapon triangle advantage, the knight has a 15% crit chance against Jonas. And this is a level 14 Jonas with 8 luck. So again, like, this isn't a complaint exactly, because obviously there's ways to circumvent this. It's more if a player didn't realize they could circumvent this would be if the player didn't realize that they could just work their way over to Burn, have them quote unquote see, i.e. fight Zephiel, and then talk to Vida. If the player wasn't aware of that, if they weren't paying enough attention or they didn't have enough hints, then this would be a very difficult chapter to beat otherwise. One recommendation would be maybe to, in the dialogue at the beginning of the chapter, to have Jonas and Chadwick maybe discuss a plan, and then the plan is to avoid fighting either side. I know that story-wise, maybe that isn't a good idea, because part of the thing was saying, oh, whatever we do, it'll have these big consequences and stuff. So I guess you can't, story-wise, you can't make that work. But then to make it easier for the player who does choose or not realize they had a choice and end up attacking these enemies, it's just reduce their crit rates. Give all the enemies 0 luck instead of, higher than that. But anyway, that's just my subjective thoughts. So one other thing I want to mention that I've forgotten to thus far is each of the guided chapters, the game never gave you an option to choose to partake in the guided chapter or not. Like I think in the base game, if you unlock a guided chapter, you have the option to do it or not. Like there'll be that little menu that pops up and you can say yes or no. So the thing is, if you started to play a guided chapter in this game and then you found it was proving to be too difficult, you have no real opt-out option. So you'd be stuck in the guided chapter until you can manage to beat it, which might be really annoying for someone. If they didn't properly stagger their saves across 3 different save slots that are available, they might screw themselves into being stuck in this chapter that they can't figure out, and then that might turn them off the game enough that they might just choose to quit playing. And so a nice quality of life improvement to the hack might be to make the guided chapters optional in that way, so you can choose not to take in them. I could just be remembering wrong, and maybe there always was an option for each of them, but just some thoughts that I have on that. So I'd like to show a sport between Zephyl and Murdoch. Your Majesty, are you... this? Yes, reading. Careless, I know. I was confident that you would handle things while I caught up on this. More about that legend. Seems Hartmut also made an armor blessed in dragon's blood. He had gifted it to the most important person in his world, his younger brother. Oh, I apologize, I did not know this part of the story. The woman I mentioned before, it turns out she whispered into his brother's ears, turned him against Hartmut. Somehow convinced him to defend the dragons donning the holy armor. Perhaps she knew the truth about the conflict. Or herself was a dragon in disguise like William. Well, that brother wielded a weapon comparable to Ekis-6. One designed for the human allies of the Dragon King to aid the dragons. If you haven't guessed, it's Hartmut's second sword, the Binding Blade. A sword supercharged with dragon's fire. It was his brother's then. The book says here that his brother, seeing Hartmut broken and defeated, could not bring himself to land the final blow. Instead, feigning hubris and removing a piece of his armor, he marked Hartmut, giving him a clean target. Hartmut, taking the bait, killed his brother and was swept with grief. These stories never end happily, do they? No, I suppose they do not. To think, a sword for killing dragons slaying men, and a sword for defending dragons slaying their god. Brothers on opposite sides of a war neither one caused. What winding roads these legends take. Legends are outside my experience, or expertise. I believe there is a lesson of caution in there somewhere. I just don't know what it is. The victor is the one most willing to cast all else aside? I don't like that moral either. There is some truth to it. So there is. Sorry, I didn't realize I had moved my mic out of the way and hadn't moved it back before speaking again. Hopefully it was able to catch everything anyway. So with bait and switch tactics, I was able to kill all of the burned soldiers except these remaining ones. The rest of them... Actually, I could bait out this Wyvern Rider. I don't know, I don't think it's worth it. So I could have baited this one out as well, but these other two I couldn't have reached without being in range of Vida with her Uber Spear. In bait and switch tactics, I was using the Atros pin on Arnold because he had strong defense and he couldn't be crit with that. So now I'd like to turn them all into green units so that I can successfully talk to Vida. So I'll go ahead and finish this general off. Oh, that didn't count? That's odd. They didn't change to green units. I'm not sure who can bait the enemies out without killing them. That I haven't already moved. Let's wake up Arnold. Maybe here. I think this is one of the weakest things he can hold. I'll heal him with Branya quickly. That should move. Maybe it's because the general died as opposed to living. Anyway, I'll bait this Wyvern Rider out. So she should attack. If I don't crit, he should live. Or no, yeah, if I don't crit, he should live. The problem is he's been hurt so much that I don't know if I can attack with Zephyr without killing. What if we give Zephyr this? That also kills. That makes everything much harder. Maybe pray for misses. What's my least likely item to hit? That's 80, 80, 80, 95, 100. Let's hope I miss. I did not miss. Okay, so then the burns are still enemies for now. Right? Yeah. Okay, so my strongest defense unit should be Murdoch with 22 defense. So if I give the Atros pin to Murdoch, and then step within her range, then she'll attack, but Murdoch can't be crit, and with the high enough defense I don't think he would die. I can also Baldur's Jest him on top of that to increase defense even further. That, I think, will safely bring her into range of talking with someone. You have Delphi Shield? Yes, you do. Okay, so with the Delphi Shield, he should be able to take out the guy here. However, then he's in range of Luna and he could be Luna crit, so maybe that won't work. Okay, now he's gone. Venom can tactically retreat. Oh, Hannah's in range. had people carrying a rescue staff before, but not now. There's no way... Okay, I can reach, but I don't think I have enough rank. Whatever, I'll grab the rescue staff just in case. But I don't think things are gonna work out. So Hannah also has high defense, so there's a chance she'll survive Vida. Where's the pin now? Zephyl has higher defense. Oh, okay. Okay, so we saved her by moving Zephyl over here. The burn forces noticed him, and then everyone should be green now. Is it truly the prince is really here? By God, stand down! Everyone, stand down! I think I've already said this dialogue. Okay. Vida's green now. She's not gonna kill Hannah. We got out of that scrape. Right, so now we should be able to have all of the other conversations with Vida to end the chapter. There should be literally no green units. Yeah, 0 enemies, or no red units. Now the funny thing is, if we had somehow managed to kill Vida instead of speaking to her, we might soft lock the chapter. I'll start with Brynja's. Brynja Vechigan. My, you are as they say. What's that? Ambitious or upstart? Capable. Ignore the tiny men that whine from under your heel. Of course, it's an easy idea, the execution is the thing. But this is besides the point. I accompany our prince. We're coming through and would appreciate aid. I thought as much. The king is looking for him, though. Queen Ellen asked that I confirm sight of the prince before he's ferried away. I see. This confirms that the queen feels that the king could intend harm, quietly. And what would you do, Brynja Vechigan? I would support my prince over all others, even the king. Beautiful, no hesitation. I'm going to like you. She says her full name every time. Brynja Vechigan. Come, let us talk. Or we could talk to her with Murdoch. Murdoch, I know you. Vida, were you expelled from Bern? Officially, yes, though the queen has found use for me once again. If you are here, the prince is as well. Come, we have much to discuss. Or with Chadwick. Well, actually first, let me just double check. We do have Eremithus. Okay, so that should be everything I wanted to show, so I should be safe to finish the chapter. Ah, another member of the Burn Scar gang. Who are you to make such jests? Especially to point out a woman's face wound. Ah, my apologies. I didn't notice the woman behind that wall of teeth. Just the warrior. Actually, you look vaguely familiar. Does that line ever work? Skip the chatter. What brings you? No, I'm sure of it now. You were a Fang for a short while, were you not? That was a different lifetime. The Queen has given me new purpose. When Paul spoke of his commander, I didn't realize it was the same woman who'd been among us before. So, failure means death. I suppose you'll try to execute me now. Oh no. Like you said, different lifetime. We're actually here in support of the prince. We need an escort to the Shrine of Seals. Come then, let's talk. You wish to talk, Veda? Yes, I'm afraid we won't have long before your father's men come to retrieve you. He's the prince. Can't he just tell them to take a hike? Don't worry about me, Chadwick. I'll need to go to the castle anyway. It will be our only chance to obtain Ekisax. I see. King Desmond seems to think you are interfering with a key ally he has in place. William is no ally to Byrne. He's simply using Father's ambition as an opening to extend his own power. I don't care for the politics. I'm only telling you the situation. Veda, I heard you were with Hector on the Isle. What of it? So you likely know what quintessence is. This person we're fighting has the same ability as Nurgle to harvest it. So that's it then. If he can bait conflict against Etruria by whispering into Desmond's ear, or can incite civil war within Byrne, he will be able to exponentially grow his army. And why now? Hard to say. Likely he was in hiding from the legendary heroes. See, he pissed a few people off. Without anyone to check his power now, he will eventually come for us. He'll continue to grow in strength, shaping Byrne, Etruria, and Lycia into his own personal quintessence buffet. Treating human lives like farm stock. Oh, I'd love to get in on this fight. Halt, by order of the king. Forgive our intrusion, my prince. Your father requires your company. My thanks, good man. I will join you at once. You gonna be okay? I will be fine. Let us meet at the shrine. All right. And what of you? Missing the Black Fang at all? I'm afraid that scout brought me this letter. Queen Helene asked that I return to her immediately. That's unfortunate. We could really have use for one with your skills. I do wish you luck, Black Fang. The people of Byrne are depending on you. Chadwick, I scouted a bit ahead and spoke with the Byrne Wyvern Knights. There's no sign that William has made it this far yet. That's a start. We can't waste any time. As it stands, William could only have sealed 5 of the 8 weapons by now. 7. 9! Why do you always jump in and say 7? Everyone knows there were 8 legendary heroes, each with their own weapon, with the final weapon, the Binding Blade, as the ultimate keystone. Oh, everyone knows this? Then it must be true. Why don't you come out with whatever it is you want to say? Oh, we're almost there. Why don't we just get right to it? And there she goes again. What a hassle. I hope to be just like her someday. Alright, that's the end of chapter 20. The next chapter will be chapter 21, Coverite Essentia. I'll see you then, or in the when I play the next chapter. Bye for now.